The bottle was empty again. I stared at the orange prescription container, my hands trembling, not from anger this time, but from the familiar warning signs. The tingling in my fingers, the strange taste in my mouth, the slight disconnect between what my eyes saw and what my brain processed. I'd refilled this prescription just 5 days ago. 60 pills. Now, nothing but air and my sister's perfume lingering near my dresser. "Victoria," I called out, already knowing how this would go. "Where are my pills?" She appeared in my doorway, leaning against the frame with practiced nonchalance. At 27, 2 years older than me, she still acted like we were teenagers fighting over borrowed clothes. "What pills?" "My Keppra. My anti-seizure medication. The pills that keep me from having grand mal seizures. Those pills." She rolled her eyes. "God, Natalie, you're so dramatic about your condition." She used air quotes, as if my epilepsy was something I'd invented. "I had a headache. I took a couple." "A couple? The bottle is empty." "That's 60 pills, Victoria. Sharing is caring." My mother's voice rang out from downstairs, sharp and dismissive. She appeared behind Victoria, her face already set in disapproval. Directed at me, not my sister. "Stop being so selfish, Natalie." "Selfish?" I gripped the empty bottle so hard the plastic cracked. "These aren't Advil, Mom. They're prescription anticonvulsants. Without them, I could." "Could what?" My father joined the party, his expression one of tired annoyance. "Have one of your convenient episodes. Interesting how they always happen when you want attention." Convenient. As if I chose to have my brain misfire. As if I enjoyed waking up on floors, confused and in pain, with people staring. As if I scheduled my seizures for maximum sympathy. "The last one happened at work," I said quietly. "No family around. Who was I trying to get attention from?" "Your co-workers, obviously," Victoria smirked. "Probably trying to get out of doing your job." This had been my life since my epilepsy diagnosis at 16. What started as absence seizures, brief moments of zoning out, had progressed to full tonic-clonic seizures by the time I was 20. The medication controlled them well, when I actually had access to it. But in the Porter family, my medical needs were seen as an inconvenience at best, manipulation at worst. Victoria had learned early that she could take my medication without consequences. She sold some to her friends who wanted to get high, took others herself for the mild, buzz they gave people without epilepsy. My parents enabled it, insisting I was being dramatic about needing every single pill. "I need to go to the pharmacy," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "I need an emergency refill." "Your insurance won't cover another refill this soon," Mom said. "You'll have to wait until next month." "Or," Dad added, "you could stop being so rigid about your medication schedule. Missing a few doses won't kill you." Except it could. Literally. But they'd never listened to my neurologist's warnings, had rolled their eyes when Dr. Martinez explained about breakthrough seizures and status epilepticus. They'd decided my epilepsy was just another bid for attention, like when I'd pretended to need glasses, I was severely nearsighted, or claimed to have migraines, later confirmed as a comorbidity with my epilepsy. I retreated to my room and called Dr. Martinez's office, explaining the situation. Her nurse, Carmen, knew my family's dynamic well. "Natalie, this is the 4th time this year. You need to file a police report for theft of controlled substances." "They're my family," I said weakly. "They're endangering your life. But I know you won't report them, so here's what we'll do. I'll call in an emergency supply to a different pharmacy. Pay cash. Keep them somewhere your sister can't find them." I thanked her and hung up, then looked at my bank balance. $47. The medication would cost at least $200 without insurance. My next paycheck wasn't for a week. That night, I felt it building, the electrical storm in my brain that preceded a seizure. I lay in bed, muscles tense, trying to will it away. Mind over matter, my father always said. As if I could think my way out of a neurological disorder. I made it through the night, but the next day was harder. The aura, that strange feeling of impending doom, followed me like a shadow. My coworkers noticed my trembling hands, my difficulty focusing. "Natalie, are you okay?" My supervisor, James, pulled me aside. "You look like you did before." "I'm out of medication," I admitted. "My sister took them. I'm trying to get more, but..." His face darkened. "Go home. This isn't safe. And Natalie, you need to do something about your family." But what could I do? I was 25, working retail, barely making enough to cover my expenses while saving for my own place. Moving out meant choosing between rent and medication. Staying meant having medication stolen, but at least having housing. The seizure held off for 3 days. 3 days of increasing symptoms, of my family mocking my theatrics, as I struggled with coordination and speech. Victoria wore my pills on a chain around her neck. She'd made them into some kind of twisted jewelry, drilling holes through the capsules and stringing them like beads. "Look," she'd laughed at dinner. "I'm wearing Natalie's drama like a necklace." My parents had laughed too. Then came the letter that changed everything. My grandmother, the only family member who'd ever believed my epilepsy was real, had passed away 6 months ago. The estate had finally been settled, and we were all required to appear in family court for the reading of the will and distribution of assets. Grandma left everything to her 4 grandchildren equally, Mom said, reviewing the lawyer's letter. "Including you two and your cousins Brandon and Amy." What she didn't say, but what we all knew, was that Grandma had been wealthy. Her estate was worth over $2 million. Split 4 ways, that was enough to change any of our lives. "Finally," Victoria said, "I can quit pretending to look for jobs and actually live." The court date was set for the following Monday. I had no medication, no money for more, and no way to get through what would surely be a stressful day. I called Carmen again, begging for samples, for help, for anything. "I'm sorry, Natalie. Dr. Martinez is at a conference, and I can't authorize samples without her. Can you borrow money? Use a credit card." I'd maxed out my credit card on the last emergency refill. My friends had already lent me what they could. I was trapped. Monday arrived with the worst aura I'd ever experienced. Colors seemed too bright, sounds too sharp. My hands shook as I dressed in my only court-appropriate outfit. In the mirror, I could see my pupils were different sizes, a bad sign. "Stop making that face," Mom snapped as we drove to the courthouse. "This is a happy occasion. Don't ruin it with your attention-seeking." The courtroom was smaller than I'd expected, wood-paneled and stuffy. We sat on uncomfortable benches while the judge, an older woman named Judge Chun, reviewed paperwork. My cousins sat across from us, avoiding eye contact. They knew about Victoria stealing my medication, but had learned not to get involved in our family dynamics. "This is a straightforward distribution," Judge Chun began. "Margaret Porter left her estate to be divided equally among her 4 grandchildren. However, there is one unusual stipulation." She paused, studying a document. "Mrs. Porter specified that any grandchild who has committed a crime against another grandchild forfeits their share, which would then be redistributed among the remaining beneficiaries." Victoria scoffed. "Crime? We're family. We don't commit crimes against each other." That's when I felt it, the electrical storm reaching its peak. My vision tunneled, my muscles began to twitch. I tried to speak, to warn someone, but my jaw locked. "Natalie, stop making faces," Dad hissed. The seizure hit full force. I fell forward, my body convulsing violently. My head struck the bench in front of us, and I heard screaming, maybe mine, maybe others. The world became nothing but electrical impulses misfiring, muscles contracting beyond my control. "Medical emergency." Judge Chen's voice cut through the chaos. "Call 911 immediately. Bailiff, clear the area." I was vaguely aware of being lowered to the floor, of someone protecting my head. The seizure seemed to last forever, wave after wave of convulsions that left me gasping for air when I could breathe at all. Paramedics arrived within minutes, though it felt like hours. As they worked to stabilize me, I heard fragments of conversation. "Status epilepticus. Needs for medication immediately. How long without her anticonvulsants? Could be fatal if we don't." When the seizure finally ended, I was exhausted, confused, and humiliated. But I was also aware enough to hear Judge Chen's voice, cold with fury. "Who is responsible for this young woman's medical care?" "She's an adult," my mother said defensively. "She's responsible for herself." "I see. And the pills around your other daughter's neck? What medication is that?" "Silence. Bailiff, please collect that necklace as evidence." "Officer Martinez, I want those pills tested immediately." "This is ridiculous," Victoria protested, but the bailiff was already removing the necklace. "They're not even real pills." Within an hour, as I lay in a hospital bed recovering, the test results came back. The pills on Victoria's necklace were indeed Keppra, my prescription medication, with my name on the pharmacy database when they ran the numbers. Judge Chin visited me in the hospital, accompanied by a police detective. "Miss Porter," she said gently, "the pills your sister was wearing as jewelry match your prescription exactly. Your medical records show you've been hospitalized for seizures 4 times this year, each time after reporting your medication stolen. Is there anything you'd like to tell us? So I told them. Everything. Years of stolen medication, of being called dramatic, of my parents enabling Victoria's theft. The detective took notes while Judge Chen's expression grew increasingly grim. Theft of prescription medication is a felony, the detective explained. Especially medication that, if withheld, could result in death. Your sister could face serious charges. But more relevant to today's proceedings, Judge Chen added, this constitutes a crime against another grandchild. The will's stipulation is clear. The aftermath was swift. Victoria was arrested for theft of controlled substances and reckless endangerment. My parents, faced with the reality of my condition, witnessed by a judge, documented by paramedics, finally couldn't deny the truth. The inheritance ruling was decisive. Victoria's quarter share was forfeited and redistributed among Brandon, Amy, and me. My portion came to $666,000, enough to change everything. I'm sorry, my mother said quietly when she visited me in the hospital. We thought. Victoria said the pills made her feel good, helped her focus. We didn't think you really needed every dose. I could have died, I said simply. Every seizure risks brain damage or death. You watched me seize for years and still thought I was faking. She had no answer. Victoria was convicted and sentenced to probation and community service. The felony conviction ended her plans of living off Grandma's money without working. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. Her greed for my pills had cost her a fortune. I used part of my inheritance to move into my own apartment, where my medication stays safely locked in a safe only I can access. I see a new neurologist who's helping me recover from the damage caused by repeated medication interruptions. My seizures, once well controlled, are more frequent now, a consequence of years of inconsistent treatment. Dr. Martinez told me bluntly, the repeated periods without medication have likely caused permanent changes to your seizure threshold. This was preventable. But I'm alive. I have resources now, excellent insurance, a support system, and most importantly, control over my own medical care. I volunteer with an epilepsy support group, sharing my story with others whose conditions are dismissed or minimized by family. Never let anyone make you feel dramatic for needing life-saving medication, I tell them. Your health is not negotiable. Your life is not a bargaining chip. Sometimes I think about that day in court, the terror of seizing in public, the humiliation of losing control of my body in front of everyone. But then I remember Judge Chen's face, the vindication of finally being believed, the justice of consequences finally landing where they belonged. Victoria still insists she didn't know the pills were important. My parents claim they were just trying to keep the peace. But the truth is simpler. They valued my sister's wants over my life. The seizure in front of Judge Chen wasn't convenient or timed for maximum sympathy. It was the inevitable result of medical neglect and theft. But in a twist of cosmic justice, it happened at the one moment when denial became impossible and consequences unavoidable. My grandmother, who'd slipped money to me over the years for medication when my family wouldn't help, had somehow known. Her will's strange stipulation protected me even after her death. Now, every morning, I take my pills, all of them, on schedule, without anyone calling me selfish. It shouldn't be a luxury, but for me, it feels like freedom. And Victoria? She learned that sharing isn't always caring. Sometimes it's a crime.